From Hog Riders always getting that one last extra shot on the tower to barbarians who always get predicted with a fireball, this is one stereotype for every Clash Royale card. Let's get started. Knight. If you use the Knight, you're someone who values a good deal. 3 elixir for this much tankiness and damage? Sign me up. You also think the Knight deserves more respect in the meta. Archers. You overvalue the amount of damage they can deal and pray that your opponent is not running arrows. You also like all the feed pics posted by Clash Royale. Arrows. If you use arrows, you live by one rule. When in doubt, nuke everything. You're tired of goblin barrels, firecrackers, and princess ruining your day, so you just send in arrows and call it a skill issue. Barbarians. You get fireball predicted every once in a while, but still don't change your deploy patterns. Skeletons. You just have them in your deck either for cycling or tanking a charging hit from a prince. Bomber. You play the evolved Bomber like it's a magic archer. He is, in fact, the true win condition of your deck. Goblins. You used to run skeletons, but once you got prediction zapped, you made your mind to always run goblins. Firecracker. You just like to annoy the heck out of your opponents, but karma hits you when your opponent has arrows or your firecracker misses all her shots. Royal Delivery. You take pleasure in wiping out hordes of troops. Sparky players are your food. Skeleton Dragons. You appreciate good cards and the value they provide. At the same time, you also play a no-skill deck such as Lava Loon. Tesla. You once thought you could counter a Royal Ghost with a Tesla. Quite a dumb move. But not surprising since you probably are an Expo player. Electro Spirit. You absolutely despise the bat with all your heart. That's the only reason you're using Electro Spirit in your deck. Bats. You were extremely hated by the whole community during 2020, and ever since people have started to fear you. Fire Spirit. Not a day goes by without you secretly wishing that Supercell bring back the old Fire Spirit again. Spear Goblins. You are probably running a miner and always try to get some sneaky damage. Minions. You are running a Lava Hound deck because that's the only deck you know how to play. Not that it requires any skill to play though. Ice Spirit. You think you're a highly skilled player when your Ice Spirit hits all the bats at once. You try to replicate the same against Skeleton Barrel, but always fail. Zap. You face too many skeleton armies and bats, which is why you prefer the Zap over the Log. You're probably a bridge spam player. Cannon. You're just sick of all the Goblinstein in the meta. Either that, or you're running 2.6 Hog Cycle for years now. Goblin Gang. You're definitely playing log bait. You tried using guards at one point but found out that you weren't loving them as much as the Goblin Gang. Snowball. You're probably the happiest person in the world right now because Snowball just got a broken evolution. Skeleton Barrel. Your entire deck is full of swarms and you spam barrels and emotes alike. Mortar. You definitely copied a Mortar deck from TV Royale from one of the pros, but you found out soon enough that you weren't skilled enough to play it. Minion Horde. You probably tried to hide a mini P.E.K.K.A. under a minion horde at one point of time and straight away took your opponent's tower. Rascals. If you're still playing this card, you might be too loyal to your log bait deck. Time to switch it up, fella. Royal Giant. You tend to think you're really cool and good at the game by bullying mid-ladder players with an over-leveled Royal Giant. Royal Recruits. You keep trying to prove to everyone that your deck indeed takes skill, but all you do is just drop recruits on the bridge and split your other cards. Elite Barbarians. You always deploy them as soon as you hit 6 elixir. The moment you maxed your elite barbs, you destroyed and BM'd an underleveled player to death. Ice Golem. If someone is running an Ice Golem, there's a 90% chance they're playing 2.6 Hog Cycle. And you know they've mastered that deck after countless hours of muscle memory. Tombstone. It's called Tombstone, but everyone knows it's just a cheap skeleton army in disguise, perfect for delaying tanks. Until it's logged into irrelevance. Mega Minion. You appreciate the value Mega Minion provides as a 3 elixir card, but the only reason you're actually using it is because you don't have Phoenix leveled up. Dart Goblin. You play it more on the bridge to get sneaky damage than actual defense. You spam emotes like it's your last day playing Clash Royale. Earthquake. You are not a real Earthquake user if you don't constantly miss hitting the Tesla. Elixir Golem. You haven't touched grass in a while and you probably ignore people around you just like you ignore your opponent's push. Mini P.E.K.K.A. You've probably tried to prediction zap a skeleton army at least once in your life so that your mini P.E.K.K.A. can create chaos. Fireball. You yell value every time you hit 3 or more troops. Honestly, stop doing that. It's annoying. Suspicious Bush. Why are you even using this card? That's just a waste of elixir. Musketeer. You just try to stack as many musketeers as you can just to annoy your opponents. Goblin Cage. You've always wondered what's going on inside the evolved Goblin Cage. You're probably also running Tornado. Valkyrie. You swear that the Valkyrie is much better than the Knight in every deck, and for just one extra elixir, you gain so much value. Spoiler alert, you're wrong. Heal Spirit. You're just using the Heal Spirit for the sake of it. You still miss the OG healed spell and wish it was never deleted. Battle Ram. The last time your Battle Ram connected to the tower, Clash Royale was still in its golden age. Bomb Tower. You hate the Hog Rider and Royal Hogs, but there's a good chance that you're playing those cards too. Flying Machine. Your entire strategy revolves around protecting the Flying Machine at any cost. You're even willing to go in a negative elixir trade just to save your Flying Machine. Hog Rider. You always get that extra hit on the tower even when you least expect it. You think you're a highly skilled player, which you're not. And if you actually are pretty skilled, you'll most likely be making cringe YouTube videos on Hog Cycle every other day. Battle Healer. You're running either Golem or Elixir Golem and are clueless about the strategic aspects of Clash Royale. Furnace. If you're using this card, there is something wrong with you. You're probably the only player in the world playing the Furnace. Zappies. You only like to play Zappies because of how annoying they are. Bridge spam players, fear you. Goblin Demolisher. You like cards with unique gameplay mechanics, but your Demolishers hardly ever connect to the tower. Giant. Welcome to Clash Royale. You're most likely in Arena 1 and Giant is the only win condition you have, or you might be using Giant Graveyard because you saw one of the top players using it. Goblin Hut. Kudos to you for being the last player alive who is still using the Spawners deck. Inferno Tower. You lost against Royal Giant and P.E.K.K.A back-to-back and thought it was time to switch to Inferno Tower from Tesla. And you're one of the people who complain about the Mega Knight frequently on Reddit. Wizard. Congratulations on Wizard being your only maxed level card. Have fun bullying players in mid-ladder. Royal Hogs. Somehow these piggies always seem to do more damage than you expect them to do. Rocket. You aren't skillful enough to break through your opponent's defense, so you just opt for the easy path and rocket cycle your way to victory. Barbarian Hut. Someone definitely forgot to tell you that this isn't 2018 anymore. Elixir Collector. You always spend more elixir to protect your elixir collector than it actually gives you. Also, you never catch miners. 3 Musketeers. You stack elixir collectors like your life is dependent on it, and yet your 3 Musketeers push always fails. Barbarian Barrel. You always get outsmarted by that one juke. Goblin Barrel placed at the side of your crown tower. Wall Breakers. You split Wall Breakers first play even before hitting 10 elixir because every other starting play is wrong in your opinion. Mirror. You're either a mid-ladder player or a YouTuber trying to record a level 16 Mega Knight video. Goblin Curse. Your eyes lit up as soon as you see someone playing Swarms. You don't drop the curse until the very last moment and always hold it off for that one surprise attack. Guards. You were getting prediction zapped and logged every time when you were using Goblin Gang or Skeleton Army, so you decided to use Guards and somehow your deck became even worse. Goblin Barrel. You think you're big-brained when you trick your opponent with a juke barrel. You call it skill when you make your opponent choose the fake evolved barrel over the real one, when in reality it's not. In Triple Elixir, you're cycling more rockets than barrels because that's the only way you know how to win. Skeleton Army. Not a day goes by when you don't lose a match because someone predicted your Skeleton Army. Yet you still continue to use it because you're either a new player or just dumb. Clone. You always clone your troops at the same time your opponent drops a poison or tornado. Baby Dragon. You actually play good decks, but if Tornado didn't exist, you wouldn't be using the Baby Dragon. Tornado. You probably fail a very easy King Tower activation every now and then, but you also make some really high IQ plays. Void. You're always confused as to where to drop your Void on a defensive building, and in the end, you always drop it in the most predictable spot. Dark Prince. You always try to convince everyone that the Dark Prince is better than the Valkyrie, but, well, you're only making a fool of yourselves. Freeze. Every now and then, you try to drop the freeze at the very last second, which results in your troops dying before they can get any extra damage. Hunter. You play really skillful decks and actually pull off some great plays using your Hunter and Fisherman. Poison. You cycle miners and poisons faster than the speed of lightning. You also curse daily about poison not fully countering graveyard. Goblin drill. You always drop your goblin drill in the same spot over and over again, hoping for different results every time. You've hardly ever used the goblin drill on defense. Witch. You are an Arena 1 player who hates the prince. Or you're a mid-ladder player with an over-leveled witch. Balloon. You consider a push successful even if your balloon got only death damage on your opponent's tower. Prince. For some reason, the prince will always charge and connect to your tower with the least hit points left. At that moment, you feel like he just drove his lance through your heart. Electro Dragon. You like to bully Lava Hound players, but for some reason you always activate your opponent's king tower in the most weird way possible. Bowler. One day you woke up and decided that you were just sick of all the meta decks. You eat drills for breakfast, hogs for lunch, and rams for dinner. Executioner. You are a hog Exonado user and you pull off some of the most incredible defenses. Cannon Cart. This card will always connect to your tower just when you think it's gonna die. It's criminally underrated. Giant Skeleton. You counter your opponent's big pushes pretty well, but you also don't have any idea how on earth you will take their tower. Lightning. You blocked a lightning once during the final seconds of a match and have shown that clip to probably everyone you know. Goblin Giant. Your entire push works only because of the rage spell, else this card wouldn't even exist in the meta. X-Bow. You would try hard to get an X-Bow lock on your opponent's tower during the first 4 minutes, only to spell cycle them in triple elixir. And you call that skill? P.E.K.K.A. You rely on broken cards to win matches. You are doomed the moment you face a 2.6 hog cycle player. Electro Giant. Spam Electro Giants, tornado the defensive troops, and lightning the opponent's towers. For some reason, you have the audacity to call this skill. Rage. No need to say more. You're probably using some toxic spam deck. Golem. You hate every other archetype other than Golem itself. Infernos are your nemesis and you always reset them when your Golem is almost dead. Miner. You've probably never finished a game within 3 minutes. All your games go into overtime. Princess. Don't lie, she's your actual main win condition, not goblin barrels or rockets. You spam her on the bridge and call it a high skill play. There's only one card you hate. The Log. You probably tried to predict a princess or a skeleton army at one point and succeeded. That was the happiest moment of your life. Ice Wizard. You are using Splash Yard and are just a god at defending pushes. Royal Ghost. Probably a bridge spam deck user. Your Royal Ghost always gets invisible right before it's about to die and gets that extra hit on the tower. Bandit. You've tried to use her dash to counter a Mega Knight or Sparky and have always failed. Fisherman. The Fisherman's only job is to pull the P.E.K.K.A. away from the Royal Giant, and he still doesn't do that perfectly. Electro Wizard. You are using P.E.K.K.A. And the only reason why this card even exists in that deck is because of the Infernos. Inferno Dragon. Your Inferno Dragon probably didn't manage to take down a tower all by itself because you were too slow on dropping a freeze. Phoenix. Your Phoenix egg never really hatches. It's just a mega minion with 1 extra elixir cost, so why even use it? Magic Archer. You probably copied a deck from a pro that had a Magic Archer in it, but the truth is, you aren't skilled enough to use this card. Lumberjack. You just drop him hoping he just dies soon and spills his bottle of rage because he definitely has a balloon coming behind him. Night Witch. You're desperately hoping for a buff to this card because she's the only support troops for Golem that you have leveled up. Mother Witch. You like to surprise your opponents with a Mother Witch later on in the game if they use a graveyard, and then just BM them. Ram Rider. You like to overcome it on offense by dropping a lightning on a building just so that your Ram Rider can get a charge, and then you immediately proceed to lose the game because of that overcommit. Graveyard. You give a detailed explanation to everyone as to why Graveyard takes skill, but you only win because of the RNG factor and nothing else. Goblin Machine. You were the best player in the world for 2 weeks when Goblin Machine was released. Now, you suck. Sparky. You yell boom every time your Sparky connects to the tower. Mega Knight. People want to get out of mid-ladder just because of this card. This card is the sole reason why so many people delete Clash Royale every month. Lava Hound. Lava Loon was probably your favorite strategy in Clash of Clans, so you thought to try it in Clash Royale too. Monk. Admit it, you just play this card in hopes and dreams of deflecting a rocket in one of your matches. Little Prince. You pretend to like him, but in reality, you hate his voice lines as much as everyone else. Archer Queen. You always wait for the last second to activate her ability, only for her to die before she can even become invisible. Mighty Miner. If you use this card, you probably watched Riley and think switching lanes is peak strategy. Skeleton King. Your entire game plan is praying that your opponent doesn't have a Valkyrie in their deck. Golden Knight. You constantly spam the dash ability throughout the game, just wishing that it somehow connects to the tower. Goblinstein. You probably max out a new broken card the day it gets released, and then just spam it every match. Goblinstein is definitely one of the most hated cards in Clash Royale, but you know which other cards are loved and hated in Clash Royale? Click on this video to find out.